everybody, welcome back to the sewing room. This is Sewjourns and my name is Chris. Welcome to my sewing channel. Today I've got a new pattern for you. I'm going to give you all the details, so stay tuned. Welcome to Sewjourns. Let's journey into sewing. Hi sewing friends. It's great to be back with you today with a new pattern review for my latest pattern test and new release. We see it here. This is the Lamma Hoodie Sweatshirt, but I hesitate to call it a sweatshirt because it's so much more than that. This pattern is from Itch to Stitch. And you know, when you get a pattern from Itch to Stitch, it has all the details that make it special. There's a lot of hoodie patterns out there and a lot of cowl neck patterns out there, but Itch to Stitch has the details that make me come back again and again. So let's get into it. This is the new release. So during release week, those patterns are always 25% off. The link for the pattern is just down below in the description box, as well as the like and subscribe button if you'd like to be a part of the Sewjourns community. Thank you. So let's get into it. This is my first of two. Spoiler alert, I really like this one. There are two versions of the Lamma hoodie. There's view A and view B. One will take you with the cowl neck, which is what we have here. And the second one is a hood, a three-piece hood. It's a little bit of a higher hood. It's that sort of funnel neck hood style. Princess seams on the Lamma hoodie really make it special. But what else is special about it is this is a Raglan sleeve princess seam. So what's really nice is this side panel goes all the way up to the neck, and the styling is just gorgeous with this. So you don't just get a side panel, you know, that's right here. It doesn't stop here. It goes all the way up, so it's very flattering. So you can choose, gosh, so many fabric combinations you can choose with this. You can have your print in the middle. You can have a solid in the middle. You can do your sleeves a completely different color, or they can match one of your other choices. There are a couple of choices of cuffs. This is your standard cuff. There's also a very beautiful and unique thumbhole cuff. I don't usually go for a thumbhole cuff because I can find they feel tight around my thumb. Even if I've made it a little bigger, it's just not that comfortable. This is different. It's actually really pretty, very comfortable. I'm going to show you how to sew that on camera. That's one of the things that we'll touch on today. And you'll see it in my second reveal at the end of that. I have a very beautiful, sort of more glamorous llama that I made. So stick around so you can see that. There are inseam, sort of hidden pockets, which is really nice because they don't disturb the line of this princess seam. I'm going to turn my model around here. Here on the back, there is a yoke. That's a separate pattern piece. So that gives you lots of options for color blocking. You can choose to match this back piece here, or like I did, you can choose to do your yoke in your sleeve fabric or your side fabric. In my second one, I've done the same fabric for both for just a different look. Both versions have a band at the bottom. Like I said, this is the cowl neck that has, let's turn this around, that has the tie in the middle. You can use buttonholes or grommets. I had these beautiful gold grommets, which I think really complemented my color choices here. And then I made this tie out of the same fabric. And all I did to do that was I cut 1.5 inch wide strips, the width of my fabric. You can cut it shorter later if you need to. Folded it over just like you would bias tape. Fold it in half, open it, fold each half to the middle, and fold it again. Just top stitch that open seam. And it went through perfectly. And I put some aglets to match. It's a beautiful hoodie. The Itch to Stitch patterns come in sizes 0 through 40. That's a 33 hip, 33 1/8 inch hip to a 62 hip, very size inclusive. She also has with this choice a regular bust piece or a full bust piece. When you choose your size for Itch to Stitch, oftentimes you'll see there are cup sizes, especially in her woven patterns, but even her knit patterns. But for a casual fitting raglan sleeve, she has very exact measurements. So you choose your hoodie by your bust size. It's very important that you read the size chart and choose that size. I chose the size 14 full bust. And then you can blend out to whatever size your hip fits into. So with 0 to 40, you can get an exact size and look your best in this hoodie or sweatshirt. There's a lot of pattern pieces, but they're all purposeful and they're all beautiful. You know, it's such a pleasure to test patterns for her because they're so well drafted. You're going to get spoiled. If you've never tried an itch to stitch pattern before, let me encourage you to give that a go because it'll spoil you, because the drafting is spot on, it's professional, and it's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. All of them I'm so thrilled with. This pattern is for knit fabrics with a low stretch. So here's your opportunity to use sweatshirt fleece. Your stretch will need to be about 25%, 25 to 35%. So you can use your brushed French terry. What I have here is, this is a velour. It's a stretch velour, but it's a very low percentage stretch velour. And it's really cuddly in this chocolate brown. I really love it. And then I did use a double brushed poly here on the sides, and it was just fine. This particular double brush poly has 50% stretch, but it worked beautifully for the arms and for the sides. The cowl holds up very nicely in the little bit of a heavier, say, sweatshirt fleece, or like this, holds up very nicely. My second one, I call it my more glamorous llama, that you'll see, I used French terry for the center, for the hood, for most of it, for the sleeves. The only thing I did different was the side panels. So what are you going to see today? Today I'm going to take you through the construction of the pockets. You will need a lining fabric for your pockets, and what I did was I used just these fabrics. This is a lighter weight fabric. Your liner calls for a little lighter weight jersey, so that was perfect. So I'll take you quickly through the construction of the pocket, and then I'm going to run through the construction of the sleeve. Don't know if this is going to show on camera and up here, but this is a raglan sleeve, like I said. So there's not really a traditional arm side. It comes down like this. These are darted raglan sleeve. And if you've never sewn a darted raglan sleeve before, I'll show you that. And then I'm also going to take you through the construction of that thumb hole, because it's different than I'd seen before. It's actually one extended piece. The sleeve is different. You'll fold it up straight or cut it for this style, but you have like an extended curved piece already attached, and then there's a wrist piece and a thumb inset. So let's sew that together so you can understand how to put all that together. And then we'll come back. I'm going to show you my glamorous llama, and I'll show you all the model shots, and we'll talk a little bit more. So let's get sewing our llama sweatshirt and hoodie. Here I have all the pieces laid out for my first fabric. That is the Stars French Terry. And I just wanted to show you real quick. Let me just move over here. All the pieces that you'll need. As with Itch to Stitch, there's always a lot of pieces, but they're purposeful and they're beautiful. Down here, I just wanted to show you this. This is the sleeve here on the left, and it has this extra extension. And then down here, we have the wrist portion and the thumb portion. So be sure you get those two pieces as well, and mark each of these markings. They'll be important as we put that together. And then I'm just going to come down here. I'll try to go a little bit slowly as I'm hand holding this. This is the center back, and you can see there's a straight line at the top. That's because there's a yoke. And I'm going to do a contrast yoke. I'm going to do the yoke in the gold pleather. That is also going to be the sides of the front and the back. And then over here, I have it inside out, is the cowl piece, because I wanted to show you that I already have that set with my interfacing for the grommets, as well as the pockets. On this one, I decided to go ahead and use the same fabric for my pocket lining as well as my pocket, because I didn't think that the pleather would work well as a pocket lining or whatever. The weight of it, the way it's kind of sticky, this will be perfect because of the weight of this French terry. And it does call for you to interface both the lining and the pocket, and I've done that here already. There are 2 markings on the pocket. There's one at the top and one about 3/4 of the way down. And I just went ahead and snipped into the seam allowance on that. And you're going to want to run your interfacing right over the center of the seam allowance. So I've done that on all 4 pieces. Now I'll show you our pieces for the second fabric. One more note, since we won't be sewing this on camera, there are 2 bottom bands. There is a front bottom band and a back bottom band, and they are different pieces. So what I've done is be sure and mark one of them. I've marked the back with my tailor's chalk here so that when we go to sew them on, we sew on the correct pieces because they're different widths. Here I have the pieces for the second fabric, the gold pleather fabric, and there's not many because I'm only going to be doing the side front, the back front, and the back yoke. Everything else will be the white and gold star French terry. Be sure and mark this type of fabric with tailor's chalk. Don't snip into it. You can do that with the French terry, but you can't do that or use pins on this particular fabric. All right, what I have here is the front, the center front, and the side front. And I just want to show you how the pockets are constructed because it might seem a little tricky. And I've gone ahead and done the right side already. So for this left side, which I've sewn on here, but what you'll do is you will place the pocket lining, whatever you're using for your liner, on the marks on your center front. And there's 2 marks here. And then you just go ahead and sew them with your seam allowance. So from this mark to this mark, which I've done here. And then you will press that seam allowance toward the pocket and understitch. Understitching is just sewing the seam allowance to the pocket. That will keep your pockets from peeking out or turning out and make a very nice presentation. So that's what I have here. You'll take your front side piece here and you'll do the same thing. It has the same markings. So you take your front main pocket. I'm using the same fabric for both. And you'll place it on the marks and you'll sew from mark to mark. And then we'll take it over to the machine, press this seam toward the pocket and understitch it. I haven't done that yet. I will do that. So the next thing you do is you'll take your side piece that you have your pocket sewn to and you'll place your pockets together. Place your pockets together at the curve. You're going to sew these pockets together at the curve. So here I've sewn along that edge, sewing the 2 pockets together. Now that the pockets are sewn together along that curved edge, you can go ahead and place your side piece along the front center piece at the princess seams and clip those together so you can just sew straight down that side. We've already sewn this, that's fine. You can stop and back stitch here and then finish this little bit here from the edge of the pocket to the hem. And then when you open it out, you will have your entire front done. Now that you have your entire front constructed, your pockets are sewn along the curve. They're also sewn to the side and the front. What you'll do next is open this up and flip it around. Baste the pockets to the bottom edge. Next, let's continue on with the thumbhole construction. Thumb inset piece, and this is the wrist piece. The instructions tell you to fold right sides together, the thumb inset piece, just like this, so that you are folding together the unnotched portions and sewing along there. The wrist piece, you're told to fold up the bottom to finish the edge. I serged the edge. And then fold up the bottom 3/4 of an inch and then just stitch. So we have these 2 pieces. Next we'll turn this right side out. Now with your thumb insert turned right side out and you press it, you have your seam facing up And take note of the orientation of the slant. The orientation of the slant is going upward. So this is more narrow here, it's wider here. It's following this. That's important. Then you're going to take this wrist piece and you're going to sit it on top of the thumb piece, leaving 3/4 of an inch. And that 3/4 of an inch is right where those notches are that were made. So you're going to sit it right there. And then you're going to baste it on each one of these sides to hold it in place. Here we have the bottom portion of the sleeve where the wrist insert will go. And you're going to flip over your wrist insert so that your right side's together, and you're going to match the notches. So here we have a notch, and then our first notch here. So we'll match that up and clip that together. You'll continue to match up the notches until you have it clipped all the way around. There's a notch here which goes to that notch there, so you will have this 3/4 of an inch of a hem that will eventually get turned up. That's your final notch. There's a notch here that matches. There's a notch here, and then that notch we started with. And these are opposing curves, so it will ease in all the way around, and we'll go ahead and stitch that together. This is what your wrist insert piece will look like after you've sewn it together. Now I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine with you. And we're going to sew this dart. Perhaps you've never sewn a dart on a raglan sleeve before. You'll see that the mark for the dart is way down here. So this will be a long dart coming from here down to here. And I'm going to show you how to sew that on your sewing machine. With the regular stitch length, we're now going to sew down that dart. So I have this on regular stitch, and we're going to use our seam allowance and come down to this mark, and I've put a pin here at the mark because we want to take one stitch off at the end before we lock in our stitches. And we're just going to come here and take a stitch off the edge. There we go. And you'll lock in your stitches. Really tying that off the machine, which is fine. And here we have our beautifully sewn dart. Now here's what your hoodie will look like after you have the raglan sleeves sewn onto the back and onto the sides. It's going to be so beautiful. And now we're going to attach the second raglan arm side, if you will, to the front of our hoodie. Here's what your raglan sleeve will look like pinned, and we have it pinned to both sides. And now I can take that to the serger or the sewing machine and sew that down. You're going to sew down this. After you've sewn your raglan sleeve seams, then you will put them together, matching them here and clipping. And now you will sew from the hem up to the sleeve hem. I have finished this sleeve hem with the serge stitch so that it's finished. And you'll see that it does hang 3/4 of an inch lower than the thumb inset. After we're done sewing that, we will then just turn this up and hem it so that it's even and neat. So I pinned this one side. You're going to go ahead and pin that additional side and sew both. Well, here we have it finished. Here's the beautiful wrist inset with the thumb hole. This looks really comfortable, unlike some that I find that are very tight on my thumb. We have it done on both sleeves, and I just think this is looking beautiful. So all I have to do now is attach the cowl and the bottom bands. Those are pretty standard. So when we come back, I'll show you some modeling shots, and we'll wrap this up. So now you're ready to try sewing up either your hooded or your cowl or llama hoodie or sweatshirt. You can choose the thumb hole cuffs like I showed you, or you can do these cuffs, and get out your fabric stash. You probably have pieces that'll fit here and there, and you can look through the tester roundup. Many people chose 4 different fabrics to use, and I'm more subtle. I don't choose that many, but they sure look wonderful. So thank you for joining me today. Enjoy the model shots, enjoy the looks here, and I'll see you next time. Until then, happy sewing.